Hello, this is Truth Be Told Transformation, and I'm Bonnie Burkert, here to share tools for transformation to live your highest truth. One thing that's true for me is that music moves me. Whether it can be like rock and roll, I worked in the music business for a lot of years, for everything from Metallica to Radiohead to just really amp you up, and that brings on its own transcendence. But I also love the beautiful calming qualities that music can bring. And that could range from perhaps mantra music, kirtan music, or something that's even much more relaxing. And so to speak to that, I've got for the show today, composer Christopher Jordan. Hi, Christopher.
Hello, Bonnie. How are you today?
I'm great. It's really great to have you on, and I love speaking about music, and I really think it helps. When people are trying to find meditation, I think that really one of the first tools that they can use would be some of the kind of music that you compose.
Oh, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, for my meditation, it's always been of course, the calmer, the soothing the music, the better, but years ago, I started using binaural beats. I purchased a machine that created them and had all sorts of patterns built in. And I guess I was about 19. God, it doesn't seem like it was almost 30 years ago that I purchased that. But that introduced me to the world of binaural beats, and that is what I incorporate into my music regularly now.
Can you please explain binaural beats?
Sure. Binaural beats, the Monroe Institute came up with the concept many, many years ago, and the idea basically works off the physics principle of entrainment. The idea that, kind of like if you swing two pendulums in opposite directions, eventually they will sync up.
Yeah.
And they may fall out of sync, but they'll sync back up again. Same thing as if you start walking on your left foot, I start walking on my right. Eventually, walking next to each other, we will fall into step. Our brain wants to follow patterns. The more we are exposed to these patterns, the more readily our brain presents those patterns. So working off that operating principle, if you expose your brain, let's say, to alpha waves regularly, your brain will, given any day, be more readily apt to produce alpha waves.
That is super interesting. I'm just marveling at entrainment when you talk about that, because it is really true. People falling into step together. And I think that that's hope. That gives me a lot of hope for our planet. If we can kind of try to hopefully fall into step in a positive way, not in a negative way, for sure. But that is very, very interesting. So you mentioned you outed yourself with age-wise. I'm impressed. I certainly will not be doing that, other than maybe the occasional music reference. But how, at the young age of 19, as a teenager, how did you find yourself interested in this already?
I scientifically, I guess, followed a lot of things as a youth. When I was in junior high, I was reading books on lasers, things like that. I'm trying to remember how I ran across it. I want to say I was reading a book on hypnosis and ran across the concept of lens field goggles, which basically that is the idea of putting a blank field in front of your eyes, and eventually with no sound, anything like that, with a light behind a blue field, your brain will eventually just start seeing things. It wants stimulation. And when you subtract the audio stimulation and give it only one plain visual field, it starts generating its own geometric patterns, things like that. And I started playing around with that, and the more I researched it, that is when I came across the Monroe Institute and the idea of binaural beats. And I was probably in about mid-high school, something like that, when I ran across that at my public library. In a book, and I was like, wow, that is phenomenal. And then I guess it was the mid 90s, something like that. Brookstone was a huge company.
Sure.
In every mall in America.
Absolutely.
They were basically like the Sky Mall catalog with a storefront.
Right.
And that is where the little Voyager device that I had and still have. I should have brought it out for the interview today so I could show it. But it was called like the Voyager XL, and it came with a whole little book that explained all the different patterns that it had. It came with tapes. I didn't have the tapes. I'd purchased it at a pawn shop for like $100. It was like a $500 machine at the time. Had a pair of goggles with flashing lights. But the tapes were like Stop Smoking. And it was like a 30-minute pattern that you would listen to with like a meditation over the top. It had a little 1/8-inch input. So I would input my Walkman with Pink Floyd or whatever and put a pattern on and do like the 30-minute power nap was one of my favorites, where you would get the equivalent of 4 hours of rest.
Did it work for you? Christopher, this is so cool. I love hearing, this is like, original gangsta.
It was
meditation.
Really cool stuff.
Brookstone, I remember that. And it was so cool. That was new age. I mean, it was actually new age meets technology at that point, because I considered like so much, new age showed up in lots of different ways, but that was new age in the 90s. How about that?
It was definitely cutting edge as far as that was, and was definitely, like you said, new age meets technology. It was the first time that new age was really introduced to the general public in that way, where it's like, here's a piece of technology that can help you do what meditative people and transcendental meditationists have been doing for 30 years, and it took them 20 to figure out how to do it.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it was really neat. And the more and for years, I was an avant-garde musician, made all kinds of wild soundscapes, things like that. And I would actively use the binaural beat and frequency concept. And I guess a little bit more of a twisted way. I would use frequencies that induced feeling. Sometimes even fear, things like it. Depended on what the piece of music was based on. And I would embed that backward in the music, all kinds of things.
Wow.
So my music was literally made to move you to begin with. And whenever you were like, wow, that, I don't know why, but that really creeped me out. And it's like, oh, good, mission accomplished.
Interesting.
And I guess now, many years later, it's like, why am I not using it for my meditation music? Like I've been making meditation music for people for years, just as friends, and it's like, man, I should have been throwing this into the background to every track, because it really is an incredible technology, and it's fantastic to be able to use it.
Well, I love hearing the journey and your background, exploring it and some of the things you were studying as a young person. And I also like to look back to my high school years, and it's like what I was figuring out and managing to find, and sort of those early days. And you mentioned Pink Floyd. Can I ask any other music influences prior to, sort of as then, what would then evolve into this music you're doing now?
I had a arrangement and composition teacher years ago who turned me on to things like Caroline Stockhausen, and Philip Glass, John Cage, many of the avant-garde, very spacious composers, much more an arrangement of sound and sonics than necessarily melody and harmony.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Because I was going to bring up Brian Eno going back earlier, too. So, godfather of electronic music in a lot of ways. So that's really great. Well, listen, we're teasing everybody with this. And so I think it's time to take a listen. And sure. I have Tony Sweets in the studio with me here helping me out. And we have a track from Meditation and Cosmic Journey. So that is maybe one of your more recent albums. Do I have that correct?
Yes, that is my just past album. I actually released an album yesterday, Pranothana, which is a chakra meditation album. But Meditations and Cosmic Journeys has been a very popular one amongst folks in the streaming world. So
Well, that's wonderful. Yeah, I didn't want to bring up that other record because I couldn't pronounce it.
Oh, that's okay.
No, I'm just joking. I'm going to see if we can pull up a track on that one real quickly while we're listening to this. So,
sure thing,
Tony. It's called Meditation, and this is the album is called Meditation and Cosmic Journey. So let's take a quick listen to Christopher Jordan. All right. Tell us what was happening there, Christopher. That was beautiful.
Oh, thank you. That was, if I am not mistaken, the track that the album cover came from. If you notice on the album cover, there's a geometric pattern in the background. That is actually a solfeggio frequency chart of the frequency of 528 hertz.
I love that. Will you explain more about that? I know it, and I want to learn this and understand this in my life. It is so interesting.
Solfeggio is basically where we get the concept of cymatics, the idea that every vibration is actively a visual pattern as well, and the whole concept is every sound is a vibration. I work in the world of audio video, and I try to explain to lighting guys and video guys and audio guys all the time. We're all playing with the same thing. The only difference is you can hear my part of the spectrum and I can see your part, but they're all part of the exact same electromagnetic spectrum. So everything from sunlight to ultraviolet light, everything has not only a vibrational frequency, but you can actively see that frequency if you put it through certain generations or give it a medium through which to vibrate. Most of the time, cymatics, you're using something along the lines of sand, or an oobleck, kind of a cornstarch and water. And as the frequency hits and things start harmonically matching, you will see a pattern of circles appear or a pattern of squares. So yeah, the image in the background of that album artwork is actually the frequency of 528 hertz.
Wow. That is truly cosmic and, cosmic journeying. I feel it right there. That's really great. I love that. I love working with this. And other tracks you have multiple tracks on this record. I think I saw one of the descriptions of the work that you do that you bring in planetary frequencies. Is that correct?
Yes.
And maybe you'd like to describe that a little bit?
One of the albums I released years ago that I'm actually busy redoing as we speak right now is called Ecliptic, and that was probably my first one of my first real meditation albums. Like, I am making this specifically for the purpose of this, and the idea was for people who do astrologic meditation whenever things are in the sky at a certain time, like right now Mercury transiting through Gemini, things like that. You could actively take the track about the planet Gemini, and embedded in that are the actual frequencies and sounds from the planet. So kind of the same way that you can entrain yourself to alpha waves by exposing yourself to them regularly, you could do the same thing with the planetary frequency, the frequency of quartz, what have you.
Excellent. All right. So what, for example, we just had the summer solstice here at the time of taping. We're in the midst of the summer solstice.
Yeah.
Do you, have you discovered something that you feel works that way? for you with the energy of the sun? We've got that much energy of the sun. And have you worked in that way? I like that you're weaving in some astrology to this as well.
Well, that is the whole album Ecliptic was the entire solar system. So there was a track for the sun, a track for Mercury, we had a track for the moon. But typically, all of the planets, the frequencies of their moons would be incorporated in that planet as well.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay, and so when you work with the frequencies for our planet, for Earth, what are you working with there?
normally, Schumann resonances, things up around 7 to 8 hertz, that kind of stuff, where with proper amplification systems, you can hear it, but it doesn't sound like a tone. It sounds like a pulse. Once you get hertz is basically cycles per second. So imagine the fact of a 60 hertz light bulb is actively flashing 60 times per second. That light is turning on and cutting off 60 times per second. Your eye sees it 30 times per second. So that's why it looks like the light is on constantly.
Right.
If you went down to 24 hertz, you would be talking about a strobe light that is now pulsing 24 times per second.
Interesting.
So yeah, once again, those hertz go for your vision. They go for everything. So being able to do that, you can translate a lot. And once you're working with hertz in the earth wave frequency of 8, it's really much more like hearing a thump every 8 seconds, like a boom, 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 instead of a constant whoop of a tone in the background.
Sounds like a heartbeat to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And a lot of the times I embed that. Most of the time it is embedded inaudibly. Mm-hmm. In my new chakra album, Pranathana, that one I actively embedded but the binaural beats of each chakra, but also the pure tone where it could be heard just under the music. So
I think we have another track on that one if we want to take a listen to that. Tony, are we ready with that one right now? Or do you want to tell us a little bit more about that first before we listen? Christopher?
Oh, man. Pranathana it's one that has been happening for literally almost a decade. Me and my musical partner in an old act that I had here in Austin, Shakuhachi Jones, were working on it and had the idea of doing like live chakra meditation music. We do a lot of wild things out here in Austin, a lot of wild events. So it was like
keeping
that would
it
be
weird.
Really cool to do like a meditation Saturday out in public, with just chakra meditation music, things like that. So we kind of started working on bed tracks. And like I said, that was a decade ago. That was 2012, 2013 that we were actively first creating tracks and getting things in order. I have probably done and redone this album 5 or 6 times since, released 10 albums in the time that it's taken me to do this one.
Wow. So what's going on?
And finally be happy with it.
So why? Why has this posed a challenge for you?
I don't know. Most of the time I am, and it's funny because I guess I'm a very commit to the mix engineer. I normally do not toil over tracks. It's not like I'm gonna do 200 guitar takes to get the take right. That's just not me. I know those guys. I love those guys. They're amazing. That's just not how I create. That's not my process. So it's been strange for me to every time I mean, even the artwork. There are probably about 8 or 9 different renditions of the artwork that have happened over the past decade, where it's like, yeah, it's there. No, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet. And a lot of it really came to the video because I didn't want to release the album without having a matching video set. And it took me a long time to get to the point where I had the video where I wanted it and the way I wanted it, and to have 30-minute loops where There's an album where each track is 10 minutes, but for the videos, each track is 30 minutes. So trying to metric that out and make it happen just took a little time, I guess.
Incredible offering here. So tell us your website so people can find this.
Sure, that is artofchristopherjordan.com.
Okay, that's great. And great. And are the videos, are they on YouTube or do we come to your site?
You would have to go to my site. They are available on Vimeo. Okay. The 10-minute versions of every one of them are available right there on my videos page of my site. You can watch them ad nauseum. You don't have to pay for anything to do that. If you would like the 30-minute versions of the videos and a downloadable copy for yourself, all that, then yes, all you have to do is click
right, that
buy
way
now.
It's a proper meditation that way. All right, well, we've queued up one of the tracks, so we're going to take a listen.
Absolutely.
And tell us the name of the album again, please.
Pranothana.
What does it mean?
Pranothana, prana is basically life force.
Oh,
and
yes.
Pranothana is the releasing of that life force from the base of your spine through your crown chakra.
All right, I feel that.
Not quite Kundalini, but the release of it and the preparation of yourself for bigger, higher, better things.
Bring it on. Okay, wow. Okay, so second chakra?
I am trying to remember which track I sent you.
I think.
What was the name of the track?
Third chakra, actually. I'm not going to do it. Manipura, I believe it is. So
Manipura, yes.
That's solar plexus, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I was definitely hearing water in that one. And I think we had some subtle rhythms being teased in.
Yeah, the rhythm is actually a my God, I have friends that would butcher me for not remembering it. I want to say it as a shadiku. It's a Japanese water tilt.
Okay.
Like in a Japanese water garden, it's like a tiny little bamboo water tilt that whenever it fills up with water, tilts over and empties and comes back up.
Sure, I know what you're talking about.
It's just yeah.
Oh, wow.
Pretty wild. And a lot of those things I go out and actively go on location, capture the sounds, things like that, which is, one of the reasons why it takes a little bit longer than a typical meditation album that's just synthesizers, that kind of stuff.
Well, I appreciate that for sure, because it just seems like there's a lot of music that's quite canned these days. So the fact that you're organic, even despite digital delivery, the recording process is organic. I feel it's just another level of authenticity. So cheers to that. Yeah,
even my synthesizers are not necessarily like you can see over my shoulder. That's my rack of synthesizers. Like I even still use outboard gear. I don't enjoy the process of digital studioing where it's like here's just a controller and a bunch of synthesizers inside of a box. Like I don't know. I prefer the knobs and playing with things. Even Theta Realm, the track that we heard off of Meditation and Cosmic Journeys earlier. That is the sound of cicadas in trees that is in the background.
That's incredible.
So
that's incredible.
I try to incorporate a lot of that stuff. Those are I guess cicadas being from Texas. They're outside of my room right now singing. But yeah, those are just sounds that soothe me. I lived in Maine for many, many years, and it was a strange thing for me in summertime not to hear cicadas in trees.
Yeah. When you brought it up, it reminds me of childhood summers in southern Indiana. So I think we had, you're bringing up memories of that, and maybe that's part of what you're doing with some of these sounds. That there's maybe different ways that you're incorporating, bringing up memories, feel good memories, perhaps.
Yeah.
Right?
If I could incorporate the memory of Rue into a song, believe me, I would. That is that. Our senses are literally they are the key to our memory. It is remarkable. There are more and more studies being done with Alzheimer's, things like that, and music.
Yes.
Music, scents, smells. Once again, the idea of if I smell roux for gumbo cooking in a kitchen, it immediately starts a flash frame of memories through my mind of my grandmother's house. Same thing with Zippo lighter fluid.
Okay, and what is that? Where does that take you?
Whenever I smell Zippo lighter fluid, I immediately think of my grandfather, and it starts like a slideshow of images of us fishing, and it's just a vivid sensory thing for me. Smells are something that trigger me in big ways when it comes to memory.
I feel like I've heard studies that music and scent really bring forth memories in ways that nothing else does. Yeah.
It's interesting the way that our brains are tied to that, and especially when it comes to remembering things. Once again, if like you said, hearing the cicadas reminded you of summers when you were a kid, hopefully that relaxes you. Hopefully those summers as a kid weren't stressful times or something like that. But typically when something like that comes back, it can be used to help us get into the zone, so to speak.
Happier times. Hopefully those memories, you're right, exactly. Hopefully it's conjuring up the happy memories. All right, well, let's talk a little bit more about the new album, because I want to go back to the chakras. So tell us a little bit more, because I'm a long time, you mentioned Kundalini Yoga, and I'm a long time student of Kundalini. You mentioned Kundalini, I'm bringing up Kundalini Yoga. I'm a long time student of that and yogas, and I think the energies of the chakras is something that's very fascinating to me. So I'd like to hear a bit more about your process of when you're bringing us to meditation, and there's chakra by chakra, correct?
Yes.
What are you helping us do? Are you helping us with the clearing? Is it clearing, activating? What do you use when composing the songs to sort of enhance perhaps each chakra experience?
Well, once again, I incorporate the actual frequency of the chakra itself.
Okay.
So once again, each color has a frequency. So that is actively where the frequency of the chakra comes from, is the color itself.
Got it. Cool.
So yeah, pretty interesting and wild science, but I start with that, and from there I move. I normally do not really embed binaural beats as I'm recording. That's normally something that I do in the background after I'm done.
Okay.
And there will be a few layers of that, octaves and frequencies, harmonics of the frequency, that kind of stuff. But for me, it really starts with space, my actual space itself. So I'll normally turn my lights down, get my crystals, relax, and try to come to a point of understanding of what I'm trying to record at that time to begin with, and kind of put myself, I guess, into the mind space and body space of what that is to begin with, and how that translates to me sonically and frequency-wise, vibrationally. That's my musical process. And from there it becomes a mixing process of widening fields, hiding things, building layers of sound and sonics, and subtle things where it seems like there are only 3 or 4 sounds going on, but there's actually numerous layers of sounds happening.
Yes. All right. This is great. Everybody listen up for sure, because I think we all need this. I want to go back to sort of an original point was if so many people do struggle with the process of meditation, and music like this truly can help you have an experience. And hopefully you can hold on to that feeling and find it at other points in your day, maybe when you don't have a chance to be listening to the music or sitting on a yoga mat or something like that. So, I mean, I think we all need to, find calm and peace for sure.
It's hard. It's hard. That is something that I talk about on my show regularly, is the fact of we live, I'm almost 50. Like, I still remember a slower day and age. I still remember the days of Atari. I still remember the days without the internet. I remember the days without a device in my hand 24/7 of an analog book ruling my day, and a ruler, not a machine. But at the same token, we are overwhelmed and overloaded. We could not be more of an ADHD society when it comes to the speed of things and how fast stuff processes. Even the way that we as a society process information now is different. We're all a sieve, and we're all able to filter information. The problem is, as opposed to back in the day where a lot of that information you had to go dig through a microfiche to find, or hop to a library in another town with a bigger library than yours. Now it's all at your fingertips. So as opposed to a trickle of water going through a sieve from a gutter, now you've got a whole roof of water coming into the same sieve, and it's just overflowing. And it shows in every aspect of our lives. We are also harried and hurried, and for almost no good reason.
Wow. Christopher, I couldn't agree more. And I know, yes, I will mention that your show, it is called Curious Realm, correct? And it sounds like, as with Truth Be Told and all our different Truth Be Told shows, we are definitely looking to help people find higher knowledge and just sort of some transcendence in different studies. Now, you also have interest in the esoteric, the paranormal. I'd love to. I mean, one of my favorite subjects is certainly ancient civilizations. I think that ties into sound therapy.
Oh, absolutely.
Vibrations. I mean, so many theories about, for example, the pyramids, and maybe that's how they were built, right? Was through sound resonance. That makes perfect sense to me.
I am actively working on an album right now. It hopefully will not take as long as Pranothana.
You'll still be a young man, Christopher.
I'll still have decades ahead of me, even if so. But
Amen.
Within the Rocks is what it's called, and the idea is that I have a guest on my show regularly, Keith Seelan, who talks about petroglyphs. And the idea that petroglyphs are not rock art. There's rock art where it's like, hey, look, here's an image of the cow that we saw walking down the road, things like that. Petroglyphs tell the sacred stories of these people. They go beyond, like, here's the hunt that happened. And when you look at these petroglyphs, there are so many similar patterns across the globe, whether it's a pattern of water or a spiral, whether it is a triangular pattern or square-shaped patterns. And the idea that ran through my head one day was, of course, ancient people, much like our great-great-grandparents, were much more tied to the land than we are. Just knowing cycles, solstices, things like that, knowing where to go hunt, when to plant, when to hunker down, without the weatherman telling you at 6 o'clock. And I was like, imagine the fact of these people who made the artwork were actually synesthetics that were drawing the frequencies that they heard.
Yeah.
Wow. So that is what the album is based on, is actively taking those patterns and algorithmically putting them through computer programs to generate tone from them.
Well,
it's
Okay, that is pretty
stuff.
amazing. And when that
Yeah.
happens, you will for sure be coming back to tell us all about it. Well, Christopher, like I said at the beginning of my show, I love all kinds of different music, and yet I must say, often reference a calming. I have to do a lot of writing, so something music, a calming music that provides energy. I mean, provides maybe just that positive thinking, you can get it done, it's going to be fine. And I feel that you've delivered this to us on multiple albums and in so many different beautiful ways. And I really thank you for explaining it, because there is some science behind this. This is not just you channeling down from the angels. I mean, I think it actually is, but
well, there's a part of that. There's that's the musical part. But yes, there is founded science behind the music I am making, and hopefully I greatly appreciate your feedback, Bonnie, because as opposed to not toiling over the tracks so much, I don't often get feedback about music. So
well, everybody, please leave your comments and find Christopher. Hey, give us that your website one more time, please.
artofchristopherjordan.com.
All right, everybody, go and listen. Christopher, thank you so much. Best wishes for the record, with your show, all that you're doing, and come and see us in Burbank sometime. We'd love to have you in the studio.
Absolutely.
Maybe you need to do a concert here in town.
Ooh, yeah, that'd be cool.
Maybe you need to do music for our Parapod Festival next year. I'm just saying, there's so many possibilities.
I have actively been working on morning meditation sessions with my videos. So basically, like the same way that they have like morning yoga set up in a room at conferences, things like that. Morning meditation where there's a chakra loop going on for an hour and the room is lit the same color as the chakra, things like that. So that is a traveling feature I'm actively working on, Bonnie. So
Isn't
we can
that
make
just
that
so
happen.
amazing that businesses, I mean, we're not talking
do
echo
corporate
chamber
AV
here.
for a living, so it was a shameless concept.
Please bring it on. That's grand. All right. Thank you again. A true pleasure to speak with you.
Same, Bonnie.
Okay,
Thank you
we'll
so
definitely
much. And
find
thank
you
for
soon, and
having
I'll be
me, Tony.
listening in the meantime.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. This is Truth Be Told Transformation. I really love finding guests that are doing amazing work, and I hope that that's something that will help shift you and to live a happy life and feel good. Truth Be Told is here all the time. We've got an amazing library of shows. Tony Sweet is live every Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific, so it's great for you to find the community there. And don't forget that Robert Hensley has new episodes on Monday with the Minuteman Report, and Metaphor on Tuesdays with Se Habla de Verdad. Tony, did I say that right? I'm working on my Espanol, but it's we have Truth Be Told in Espanol as well. So please share, please follow, spread the word, be part of the community, and thank you until the next time. Shine on.